Brian Eckert.
Hey! Welcome back, everybody. Hope you've enjoyed the meeting, and I hope you enjoyed the break. Now, we have two speakers. Like all the other speakers at this meeting, will change the way you look at your life and also the way you look at your career. First, we'll hear from Simon Gibson, a 13-year MDRT member with 6 top-of-the-table and 4 quarter-of-the-table qualifications. Simon will discuss 7 things you can do to improve your presentations, which will help you develop more meaningful relationships with your clients. Get ready, take some notes, because his ideas, combined with his sense of humor, will continue to motivate you long after you leave the meeting. Now, please help me welcome to the stage Simon Gibson.
Good morning. Namaste. Yesterday, Max Mayo told us that we only earned the right to speak after we had introduced ourselves. And I thought about this. I thought about something else that he said. He said, and this is not my experience, that ladies apparently like their gentlemen dark, tall, and handsome. Okay? I'm the tall one. For brilliant, more successful, passionate presentations, we don't need to change everything we know. Today, I'm going to concentrate on just 7 important elements to be considered when we're presenting. They are easy to pick up, learn, or to adapt. And though they work when presenting to large groups, they work just as well, if not better, in those intimate presentations, when perhaps it is just us and our customer or prospect. We might call those meaningful meetings. Improving just these 7 areas of our presentations by just a little will make a very meaningful difference to our results. We just have to make small changes in 2013. Let us make all our presentations more passionate and successful by being the best that we can be, by harnessing the power of MDRT, and by helping people do what they should do. We should always be helping people do what they should do. We must be authentic. Now, that is a great compliment to receive, and the word has been used by many speakers already in the last few days. It even appears on the front of the BA menu that I had on the way over here. We should share our passions. I'm going to be sharing mine, and together we can discover the future. So here is my first suggestion, my first tip. Start strong. Now, I realise that when I wandered on stage, whistling, reading the newspaper, I wasn't exactly starting strong. Would you go into a presentation like that, showing that little interest, let alone passion, in your audience, even if it is just the one person? What would be a good way to start what we expect to be a meaningful meeting? Well, that wouldn't. So where do we start? Please let me ask you a question. Do you know who you are? Do you know what you do? What is your job title? What do you do? Because I do what you do. My business card doesn't have a job title on it. It doesn't show my qualifications. I'm a qualified Irish whiskey taster, if that's of any interest to anybody, but instead, on the front, it describes how I feel about my job. It's a very strong start to any presentation or any meeting. It may even get us our first meeting. It says simply, I have the best job in the world. Who else in the room feels the way that I do about my job? Okay, now do we tell people that? Do we tell people how much we love what we do? That would be a strong start to any presentation, wouldn't it? That would help to start giving us the chance of making it a meaningful meeting. I have the best job in the world. I will go on to say to clients something along these lines. I have the best job in the world. I create and preserve wealth. I create it for people that die too soon and preserve it for people that live too long. Sometimes I do both for people who are worried about both. More on that a little later. How else can we make sure that we start strong? Godfrey mentioned the first of these just before the break. We should be on time. I was 5 seconds late coming from the side of the stage. That wouldn't be a good start. Most people appreciate good timekeeping. We should take a deep breath. And like one of my heroes, Lord Nelson, we should be prepared. But you don't need to take guns into meetings. We should rehearse. We should know what we're going to say. And I believe we should have an agenda. It helps keeps the presentation or meeting on track. We should connect with our audience, whether it is an audience of 1 or 100. Engage with them. Know our purpose for being in front of them and be passionate. So, what's the second idea? Well, it's very simple. Keep it simple. We have 2 eyes, 2 ears, and 1 mouth. And when we're presenting to a prospect or a customer, though we cannot say nothing, we need to use these in the proportion that we've been given. Now, I realise that if I did that now, I would quickly be hauled off the stage, so I'm going to have to keep talking, but you get the idea. Now, we could just ask our customers easy questions. That would be simple, wouldn't it? However, whilst I believe that what I'm about to suggest is simple, it doesn't make it easy. We may have to adapt our language, perhaps even our natural instincts. Let me explain a little more. Some of you will have heard of Wayne Gretzky, the world-famous ice hockey player. Like Godfrey, I play field hockey, which is proper hockey, but he was a world-famous ice hockey player. He said, you miss 100% of the shots you don't take. If we don't ask the right question, we will never get what we need to be successful. Or perhaps just more successful. Simple questions. Such as, what do you want to happen when you die? Are you worried about living too long or dying too soon? One of my favourite questions, why? And what are your financial aspirations? Now, for this last question, I have never, ever had anybody tell me, well, I don't have any. Everyone has financial aspirations. They often won't offer them to us unless we ask. Winston Churchill said, courage is what it takes to stand up and speak. Courage is also what it takes to sit down and listen. We need courage when we're presenting, and especially when we're trying to get prospects to buy, to do the right thing for them and their family. And sometimes it will be more about listening than speaking. I really do believe that it is often what we don't say that makes our presentations successful. There's certainly things I'm not going to say that would make this very unsuccessful. It would be easy to ask a customer about what preparations they have made for when they die. whether they want to receive a sum of money for their children to be looked after. Most of these would be closed and obvious, easy to answer questions. As I mentioned earlier, I like to ask, what do you want to happen when you die? And then just like now, I'm quiet. Sometimes for what seems like an age, for an uncomfortably long period of time. Most importantly, I have the courage to sit down, keep quiet, and listen. Amazingly, people then start talking. And what they tell me, what they say, there's a man with a machine gun over here, some of you might be able to hear it, it creates something for me to build on. Our customers like solutions they discover for themselves, ladies and gentlemen. Customers like solutions they discover for themselves. Let me give you another example that I use, and I'm going to go over to the flip chart. Keeping things simple. I'm no Michelangelo, but one day this might be worth something, so I've just signed it. You probably recognise this. It's a box. You're right, that's a smaller box. That's an even smaller box. Now, that's not the language I use, but when I'm talking to a customer or a prospect, maybe they're a businessman, maybe they're a family member, this might be the value of the business or their estate. This may be their problem. In the UK, we have quite a high inheritance tax to be paid when somebody dies. This may be the tax problem. And the solution, it's a life assurance premium. So we should keep it simple. I've got another quote for you. It really does sum up the point about simplicity. And I'll repeat it so that you can get it down. Out of intense complexities, intense simplicities emerge. Out of intense complexities, intense simplicities emerge. Now, isn't that brilliant? I think that's brilliant. Who do you think said it? Maybe Steve Jobs of Apple? Perhaps the late, great Neil Armstrong? Perhaps more likely a brilliant modern architect? It was certainly said in the modern, complicated, busy digital era, wasn't it? It wasn't. It was said in 1927 by Winston Churchill. If it was true then, it's true now. Keep it simple. Now, my third suggestion, again, very simple, probably requires very little change for most of us. We should put numbers and statistics in context. Not everybody likes numbers and statistics. There are three types of people in the world. Those that can count and those that can't. Let's wait for that to be translated. Numbers and statistics, if you don't like them, can contribute to death by PowerPoint. I'm sure we've all seen a presentation that's got numbers all over the screen and page after page of numbers. Maybe we just throw numbers at people when we're speaking to them. Having lots and lots of numbers thrown at us, especially if we don't like them, can be quite disconcerting. And it's rarely simple. How many of us in the room ever speak to people about the cost of life assurance or the need to invest, perhaps even whether it's the right time to do so? Anybody? Most of us do. I have a couple of ideas. These are pre-tested to back up why we should put what we're saying into context for our audience. Firstly, when we're talking about the right time to invest. There are all sorts of charts and fancy presentations we could use. We could wave the Wall Street Journal or the Financial Times. We could quote famous investors and famous fund managers. We shouldn't. I don't. Keep it simple. And tell the story of the bride's dress. A proud father tells his eldest daughter that she must have the perfect wedding, and that though he is not particularly rich or famous, she must buy the best dress she can find. And she says, "Dad, I'm going to need $2,000. He agrees to this budget and sends her out to find that perfect wedding dress. She comes home and is so excited. Dad, I have found it. The wedding is in 3 weeks. I cannot believe I found it. The perfect dress." Her father is so pleased. "You must buy it," he says. Now, the next available day, she goes back to the shop with her loving father to get his final approval. The dress is still there. But now, it is reduced in price because there's a sale on, and it's only $1,600. Being careful with money, the daughter says, "Dad, do you know what? Maybe we should wait. Next week the dress may be cheaper still." The wise father says, "No. We must buy it now." If it was a good investment when it was $2,000, it's an even better one now, and who knows what tomorrow will bring. Don't let your customers procrastinate over investing or taking out life assurance for that matter. Who of us knows what tomorrow will bring? Put things into context, especially numbers and statistics. Now, still in this area, the next idea goes back to the Wall Street Journal and the Financial Times, both considered a must-read for those interested in their financial futures. Now, let's say we have a customer in front of us that is unsure whether or not to spend $25 a month on life assurance, or perhaps $50 a month towards their retirement. He probably understands the benefits, but sees the cost as prohibitive. We must present passionately, make this a meaningful meeting, have a confident conversation. Now, for $25 a month, you can purchase on subscription. Sorry, let me go back. For $25 a month, you can purchase a life assurance policy. Maybe $250,000 to ensure, sir, that your wife doesn't have to dress as a widow when you die. To ensure your children have the lives they deserve when you die. Or you can subscribe to the Wall Street Journal. When you die, they could burn it to keep them warm. They may even read it for educational purposes. It will not feed them. It won't clothe them. It won't pay for their education without you. Without you, they will never have enough money to invest. What do you need the Wall Street Journal for? For $50 a month, you could save and invest for your future, putting money away from what you earn today to help pay for better tomorrows. You don't rely on handouts today, sir. So do you want to have to do that when you're retired? Ladies and gentlemen, we sell our time when we are working. And we should say this to our customers. Why not save some of what we get paid to make our non-working lives more comfortable? Now, the Financial Times, which unlike the Wall Street Journal is written in English, thank you, is $69 a month, whether you're working or not, whether the markets are shooting up or plunging down. Let me be your financial guide, and instead of paying for a subscription to the Financial Times, how about investing in your future? $25, $50, the Wall Street Journal, the Financial Times, or $250,000, and a safer, more secure future for you and your family. Put numbers into context. My fourth tip is just 4 letters. And I'm extremely proud and honoured that the organisers of this conference have thought to put them behind me at the top of the stage here, especially so that my talk goes all the more swimmingly. MDRT, $1 Million Round Table. I can't stress enough how important MDRT is to my presenting skills, especially with prospects and customers in meaningful meetings, helping me to have confident conversations. Now, I cannot carry MDRT into the meeting in physical form. Most of my customers, perhaps the same for you, haven't heard of MDRT, yet it is at the centre of my success and in many ways. Just one of those is the idea I carry into meetings. Ideas I present to prospects and customers to help them do what they should do. So here are just 3 examples of things I've learned from other people's MDRT presentations in the past, let alone all the fantastic ideas that we've heard in the last few days together. First of all, have an agenda. I always carry out a fact find on my customers. Perhaps most of us do. Some won't. Some hard facts, their date of birth, their address, their telephone number, email address these days, family details, their salary, of course you know all of those things, and some soft facts, their financial aspirations, their priorities. As I say, some will do this already, some won't. I strongly recommend it. We learn so much more that a prospect or customer will simply offer to tell us from a well-structured fact find or questionnaire. Next idea, make promises. My promises are, I will always do what I say I will do. I will always make and keep an annual meeting with you. And when you recommend me, I will always look after whomever you have recommended. I won't let you down. They're not difficult things to make promises about, ladies and gentlemen. Now, not many in the room will perhaps have people that need an annual review. But they do exist. Find those people. Find the ones that can give you more business and then simply fulfill your promise. My diary already has meaningful meetings in it for 2014. My final idea, gleaned from an MDRT meeting, I have very few ideas of my own, to be honest, is travel a different route. Some of you, like me, will work from an office. Some of us work from home. Most, if not all of us, go to see customers. I'm quite sure of that. Travel a different route means 2 different things, 2 ideas in one. First, the physical travelling. When we are out to see a customer or prospect, we shouldn't always travel the same route, unless, of course, there is only one, and then it's a very good idea. You will see new places of interest, potential customers, prospective businesses, that because you've never driven down that road before, you never knew existed. Now, the second part of travel a different route is when we're actually presenting, when we're in a meaningful meeting. We shouldn't worry about letting the conversation take a different route. We may have prepared for hours, got fancy speeches, great one-liners, all lined up and ready to deliver our best ideas. If the meeting is going well, go with the flow. No one ever knows what gets left on the cutting room floor. MDRT has taught me brilliant prospecting techniques. We heard some fantastic ideas from Mark yesterday. I've learned brilliant language. We can increase our income. We can expand our businesses. So my fourth tip is very simple. To make use of MDRT. Qualify, join and attend the annual meeting. This year, as you've heard, it's in Philadelphia. Next year, it's in Toronto. If you come to either of those meetings, come and find me and say hello, because I'm going to be there. If you are already a member of MDRT, make the most. Use everything that MDRT offers. And if you're not a member, there are plenty of people in the audience. Come and talk to us, any of us. MDRT can be at the heart of your future and your future meaningful meetings. So that leads me to tip number 5. Create headlines for and with our customer. Create headlines. We should be memorable beyond our presentation or meeting. We should do something that matters. We should convey our message through our passion, and we should mirror our customers' language. When I started this morning, I said that by being the best we can be, by harnessing the power of MDRT, and by helping people do what they should do, we will be successful. I truly believe that by helping others, we help ourselves. So how do we create headlines? Almost everyone I meet has one of two problems when it comes to their financial affairs. I said earlier, they are either worried they will live too long or die too soon. We should point this out. I have used this expression with prospects and customers for many, many years. It does not matter whether they think they need protecting or to be invested, to be cautious or adventurous in their risk-taking. Either living too long or dying too soon is one of their problems. Sometimes they're even worried about both. So here's an idea as to how we can convey this in a meaningful meeting. Now, first of all, let's assume that we are meeting with the man. Now, this is not a sexist comment. Man stands for the person with the money, the authority, and the need. And if you really want to have meaningful meetings, you should always be meeting the man, the person with the money, the authority, and the need. This is a great example to help them do the right thing and to help us be the best that we can be. Mahatma Gandhi said, "Be the change and learn as if you were to live forever." Now, if we learn and implement this idea, we will be the change in our customers' lives. And the idea is called the income machine. Now, in the UK, many families have two wage earners. There are still plenty, of course, that just have one, or one that is much more significant. That's the person this is aimed at, whichever country we're from. When they're working, they're earning. When they're earning, they are cranking the handle on the income machine. The machine pays the bills, puts the food on the table, sends the children to school, pays for the holiday. If this machine sat in the middle of a successful business, it would be worth more than any other piece of equipment, more than any car or home, and we insure those. It is the business. Now, Mr. Client, if you owned a machine like that, wouldn't you insure it against permanent damage or worse, total loss? Now, some of you may have heard of the income. Thank you. Some of you may have heard of the income machine before. Many won't have done. And that means that most of the prospects and customers that we're going to meet have not heard of the income machine. That is helping us to create headlines. And ladies and gentlemen, in a world of 7 billion people, if you are the first one to tell them about the income machine, I reckon that was a meaningful meeting, don't you? Now, finally on this point, another quote, this time from Robert Louis Stevenson, the author of Robinson Crusoe. Robert Louis Stevenson wrote, "Do not judge each day by the harvest you reap, but by the seeds that you plant." Do not judge each day by the harvest you reap, but by the seeds that you plant. If we plant enough income machine seeds, we will reap a mighty harvest. Now, my sixth point and the penultimate one this morning, and this is called simply, wow. 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 Albert Einstein said, imagination is more important than knowledge. I have that on my meeting agendas, and I always add my own line. Enthusiasm is essential. A little drama never hurts. Wow. You don't have to do this in meetings, by the way, and clients will absolutely never do it, but it's... One way to turn your presentation into a meaningful meeting and your meaningful meeting into a memorable one is to add a little wow. Now, earlier on, I distributed amongst you 7 pre-tested ideas. I don't have time to go through all of the ideas that I'd love to share with you. And they look like this. Would everybody who I gave a sheet of paper to look like this please stand up so we can see you? Who's got one of these in their hands? Might be a bit of translation. There's one here. Another one, thank you. Anybody else? Over there as well, thank you. I'm sure there was another one over here. Have a quick look at these people, but more importantly, the people that hold these in their hands, please share this idea with somebody else at the meeting. Or more than one person. As many people as you can. We should give. A little drama never hurt. I do other things in meetings. I move around the room in a meeting. I get up and down to the flip chart. But it's not always practical, is it, for our drama to be physical? Sometimes it has to be dramatic words. And again, I have a couple of client stories that I tell with their permission. And here is just one. My customer and friend, David, lived with his wife, Louise, in a nice house, in a nice area, had a good job, and enjoyed life. He had elderly parents for whom nothing was too much trouble. He was sports mad, especially loving field hockey. He, Godfrey, and I would have had some amazing times together. David had a warm smile and a firm handshake. David was the man, the person with the money, the authority, and the need, the driver of the family finances. And always, but always, took my advice. Sometimes for a lower premium, sometimes 6 weeks after I'd thought he should have done, but always doing what I recommended. We worked on a plan, he kept to it, as did I. And at age 52, he was diagnosed with cancer. He called me, telling me he'd been diagnosed. It was terminal. 1 year to live, maximum. He remembered that we had effected a critical illness policy, on my advice, a year or so earlier. And like Godfrey, I met Marius Barnard. And like Godfrey, I've had so many critical illness claims. He asked me, what had he got to do to qualify for a payout? And with a lump in my throat, this devastating news from someone that I called a friend, I said, David, you've got to live another 14 days. He did. And the insurance company paid out. So he received the money the day after the qualifying period ended. I don't mind telling you, I cried during that first telephone conversation. A little later in the year, David called me to his home for a meeting. A beautiful, rural location, about 60 miles from my office, not far from the restaurant that we'd shared meals at. And for the first time, Louise, David's wife, sat in on the whole meeting. She'd been involved in other meetings, but David was always the man, as I said before. David asked me to tell Louise the financial position so that when he died, she would have some reassurance that at least financially all was well. Life assurances, a retirement plan, investments, all in place, mortgage repaid, house owned outright. And then David asked me what else we could do. And we agreed a strategy for managing his affairs over his final weeks. He told Louise that he would like her to use me for financial planning and advice after he had died. David decided now that, knowing he was dying, he would rewrite his will, put his affairs in order. I conveyed this to his attorney. He sent David a draft, and by the 21st of December, his lawyer was ready with the will. However, Christmas was coming up. The post was taking longer. There were holidays. The lawyer, the attorney, was concerned that David would not get the paperwork and be able to return it until the new year. Now, I got married earlier that year, and my first day of holiday with my new wife, the lady I like to call the current Mrs. Gibson, was the 23rd of December. And as the attorney was open until lunchtime, I went and collected the paperwork, drove up to see David and Louise, and with neighbours as witnesses, we completed the wills. The neighbour left, and Louise made a cup of tea. Very English. Once or twice while we were talking, it was clear that David had deteriorated considerably since I last spoke to him. He drifted off. His eyes were closed. I can still picture the scene now. When Louise came back in the room, he sat up, and with maximum effort, and quite clearly and very slowly, he said, "Simon, I have asked Louise to promise to do whatever you advise her to do when I've died. And I ask you to promise to continue doing for her and the children everything you've done for me." I'm sorry, I thought that would be easier. David spent Christmas morning with his family. And then he went to a hospice for lunchtime so that they could enjoy Christmas Day lunch together. At 8 p.m, with his family around him, on Christmas Day, David died, aged just 52. Some of our customers seem to think they're going to live forever. David knew he wouldn't, but his legacy lives on, ladies and gentlemen. His children all completed school. They have great jobs now, and I look after Louise. Well, I did promise. Now, of course, this is my true story, ladies and gentlemen. You will have your own. And it's not appropriate for all presentations or meaningful meetings, but sometimes it is perfect. Sometimes we need some wow. So I come to my final point. For passionate presentations and meaningful meetings, end with inspiration. Inspiration is, of course, different things to different people. We've heard some amazing, inspirational things from this stage in the last 3 days. Last year, I was involved in the London Olympics. I know you're all wondering which sport it was in. I was a games maker. And at the Olympics, the theme was inspiring a generation. There's no doubt many young people were inspired by the amazing feats of the Olympians and the Paralympians. I was inspired by Dr. Hola yesterday, and I'm sure everybody was. Now, what inspires us? Who inspires us? And most importantly, how do we inspire prospects and customers? We must inspire them to be the best they can be and to do what they should do. So how do we do that? I wasn't sure what I do to inspire my customers, and perhaps even my friends. I'm reasonably successful in financial services. By the way, it's called financial services, not financial products. My best-selling product is peace of mind. My customers seem to like me. As you know, I see most of them every single year. And I wasn't sure about what I did to inspire people. So I took a pretty radical step. I asked them. I asked friends, I asked colleagues, and I asked customers. What do I do to inspire you? And here is what they said almost unanimously. They've grown since I've been away. They're huge. These are my 3 children, Grace, Alice, and Guy. It's my usual practice in business and socially, as many of you know, to talk about my family and my children in particular. And I know what you're all thinking. He must have a beautiful wife. Fair enough. Well, here they are. Apparently, I am radically transparent. When I talk about the need for life assurance, knowing me to be a family man, my customers tell me they are inspired. When I meet local business leaders, it seems to give me a bit more of a reputation. I have something other than work in my life. Friends often comment that my commitment and love for my family inspires them even in tough times. One recently wrote to me saying, "I'm inspired by your drive and passion for the things that you're involved with. You speak so passionately about your children, always talking about what they're doing and how proud you are. I see a glow of contentment that is rarely seen in people. And in my recent difficult times, I have thought of that and it's helped me through." Wow! I was inspired just by getting that. Now, all I am doing really, when I talk about my children and my family, as it turns out, is passionately presenting. We need to find our inspiration. Now, for everybody, it may not be children or family. It may be our community. It may be a charity. It may be our faith or something else. Make it usual business practice to inspire people by our passion. Now, if we learn and implement these 7 steps, start strong, keep it simple, put numbers into context, embrace MDRT, create some headlines, add some wow, and end with inspiration, we will present passionately, we will have meaningful meetings, and we will be successful. Thank you for listening.